I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't hate this movie. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate there's an arm in my shot. It's out of my shot. There's an arm back in my shot. So, yeah, I didn't hate this movie. People hate this movie. They say it's one of the worst. I don't think so. I think it's fine. Alan Moore, I believe, director, who directed Game of Thrones. And at the time, you got to remember, Game of Thrones is a massive property at this point. So getting him was a good idea. It was originally supposed to be Patty Jenkins. And she dropped out, and whatever the hell happened. I don't know if it's creative differences or whatever it might be. But he takes over, and some say, hey, look, the movie made a lot of money. He said last week, close to like $600-700 million. This also takes place after the Avengers. There's a lot. We're going to talk about all that and more on today's rewatch episode of Thor: Dark World. Hemsworth, Portman, they're all back. And one of the worst villains for sure. We'll talk about that a little bit more, too. If you haven't already, please go to the little subscribe button there. Hit that button. Got reviews on this channel. Got a bunch of stuff on this channel. A lot of things going on. And I want to make sure that you do that. And also go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that podcasts are found, and help us out. That's what you're going to do. All right, listen. Let's get into it. It's going to be myself, Winston, Coy, and we're talking about Thor: Dark World. Let's do it. Hello, everybody. It's Thor: Dark World. The Dark World. Jane gets possessed. Or whatever she gets. Something. All right, let's talk about it. We got Coy. We got Winston. Got a wide shot.
But Patty Jenkins, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was attached up until like 6 months out. It was really
Natalie Portman was going to
Oh, that's why Natalie Portman wanted out.
Yeah.
I forgot. Oh, that's exactly right.
She wanted out because they lost Patty Jenkins, and she was excited because it was I think first female director doing an MCU film.
And like we saw how great Wonder Woman was, like what could have been the first Wonder Woman.
Well, I don't know if it could have been as good, and I'll tell you why. Because I think that the difference was, and I think that Patty Jenkins made a right move.
100%.
Because I think with Wonder Woman, she got to play a little bit more in her sandbox and do a little bit more of what she wanted to do. And
also,
I think
the script is just so much tighter.
So much better. And
you
I think
also got
that,
to world build.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think so, yeah.
She established a thing versus following up a thing. And I think that was some of the weakness here is, Alan Taylor's hands were kind of tied, but also like the pacing of this film is really interesting. There's a weird second act where it's just like, and okay. Like there's a slog that doesn't happen in other Marvel films.
It's interesting too because the trilogies that tended to have a little more consistency with the creative team tended to do a lot better. I know obviously Iron Man 2 wasn't that great with Favreau and whatnot, so maybe that's an exception to the rule. But like, I know it wasn't a trilogy, but like Gunn, I know you don't like Guardians 2, but like universally people kind of love how those two films flowed generally.
Well, universally people are idiots. I'm just kidding.
I actually might rewatch Guardians 1 and 2 before our next watch, because I'm going to see Love and Thunder at least a few times. I might actually try to watch Guardians 2 before that, because I assume the Guardians are going to be pretty heavily.
Yeah, it seems.
I haven't seen it in years.
I don't think they're going to be. I mean, look, again, by the time we've shot this, we have seen the movie, but
we might be fools.
But I don't think Guardians are going to be in it that much, dude. I'm thinking
like 15, 20.
I think they're going to be in the beginning of the movie. I think you're going to start with him with them in the movie, and then he goes off on his own adventure. Maybe they show up at the end, but like they're not going to be in the movie that long. I bet you the first 10 minutes, maybe.
All right.
If I was to guess.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like a full act, but I would say like a decent.
You think a little bit more?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Empire with it, and I think that that's gonna be like kind of a Hoth situation where the crew's together.
Yeah.
And like you said, similar to Thor going off.
Yeah.
But I think instead of having the very end of Act 3 is Luke showing up to save everybody, I think they reconnect like the end of Act 2. I think that
he needs family.
Yeah, maybe he needs,
because I think his new family is going to be the Guardians, and I think he's going to have to accept that.
Because you also have to include Valkyrie,
right?
Because that's its own thing about her being king now,
right?
You know,
and the Asgardians of the Galaxy is like a fun thing that they might play with on purpose. But I mean, this is all for next week or 2 weeks from now.
We'll see.
But that said, Dark World, it is still in my lower Marvel films, but kind of like you were saying with the first Thor, that's only because of how great the MCU is as a whole. Like in a giant franchise of A's and B's, when a C happens, it feels really low, and a C is fine.
I don't hate this movie. I really don't. It's not super exciting. It's got a lackluster villain for sure. The story itself of people flying through dimensions I thought was pretty. There's some of it I thought was cool. Kat Dennings, like I said last week, Yeah, but Kat Dennings is. I remember her being really annoying in the movie when I saw it, and I actually don't mind her in this. And I don't know if it's because she played really well in WandaVision for me.
She does.
That's fair. Her making out with the intern and like the whole reason she hired the kid was because she didn't want to do work and she wanted to hook up with somebody.
Yeah,
it's just really funny to me, and I do appreciate her being that relief. I find it interesting that Skarsgård that they go into. Yeah. Imagine being mind controlled, bruh. Your brain unravels, and he's literally running around naked talking about wormholes.
So much
where
fun.
He's still on point with his science,
right?
But the rest of him is a wreck.
And what a great way to show ramifications of Loki in a different way. Like, what a great way to have Loki be a problem in it. And I think this is some of the best Loki Thor stuff. Like, I think the battle, I think the brotherhood, I think all of that's a highlight.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say that I don't love, because of that, and this is a minor continuity thing, if you're saying that the Mind Stone being mind controlled drives you insane, I would have loved for them to connect those dots with Clint.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's having random psychotic breaks. I know we get a little bit of that in Hawkeye, but that's more PTSD of that,
the things he's seen.
Dying.
Yeah.
If you had this element that being mind controlled by the Mind Stone makes you uneven, that would have been really cool to see.
And it's very interesting psychologically. It's just there's so many threads, there's so many stories, but I would have loved to have seen that. This movie also has my favorite cameo in the entire MCU, which is Chris Evans doing Tom Hiddleston doing Chris Evans.
Yes.
Because Tom Hiddleston's known for his, stylistic personifications, and then Chris Evans does this beautiful over-the-top Chris Evans. It is, I think, the best cameo.
Has Chris Evans been in the most MCU films?
I think there was a time he was.
Because it was, the three...
It's gotta be Downey, no?
I think it's Evans only because it's, 3 Captain Americas.
Okay.
4
Avengers.
Homecoming in the videos. Thor: The Dark World for this.
I think it's still Downey,
so that's
man.
9. So then Downey is in 3 Iron Mans. 4
Hulk,
that's 8.
Homecoming.
So they're tied. They're at 9 each, 9 apiece.
Is there any more? I don't know if there's any more that they're in, but
I was just curious because you're right, because Chris Evans keeps just popping up
just all the time.
Yeah. It's true.
10 appearances from Tony Stark, Iron Man.
What was the 10th?
What was the 10th?
Hold on, I just opened an article. Got to get to the actual.
Anyways, while he looks that up, as far as the Dark World goes, I think what has redeemed it in my eyes, you have a really good story set up about family, even more so than the first one, about what those brothers, what that means. The fact that Loki... They're both torn up about Frigga dying, but Loki is like distraught, and especially because it's his fault.
Right.
Because Downey's in a Cap movie, and Cap isn't in an Iron Man movie. Civil War is a Cap movie with Iron Man as the villain. So we got 3 Iron Mans, 4 Avengers, Civil War, the Spider-Man Homecoming secondary lead, Incredible Hulk, and then Endgame. So 10.
Right.
And then he's actually tied to Samuel Jackson, which surprises me. Nick Fury's also in 10. Steve Rogers is in 9 because he's not in an Iron Man movie. So Steve Rogers is in the 3 Caps, 4 Avengers, cameo in Thor 2, cameo in Homecoming, Endgame.
Got it.
Crazy. Yeah, they're both in a lot, and they're both never have to work ever again. So yeah, but this is it is and similar to what we were talking about last week. The tone is probably why they shifted so much, because the tone is even more serious, even though, like I said, there's a Kat Dennings joke and there are definitely humor in this, but it's definitely the more serious of the films out of the 3 of them, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we talked about this in our Thor review. The other thing that this movie does right, she still kind of has the, oh, there you are, kind of mentality, but
it's better.
The minute she gets the ether, once she kind of realizes what's going on, you see a little badassery come out, and that is going to lead into what we're going to see, or what we saw in Love and Thunder.
Right.
Because the big iteration that we've always seen with her is like either she's a scientist or she works as a paramedic, or a number of different things where she is like actually throwing herself into the action.
Right.
Which then leads to her being worthy enough to wield the hammer.
Yeah, she's always smart and hands-on. This character, as seen, is not yet that worthy.
She sort of does it now with the stick. She's able to start teleporting some of the dark elves out of the way to help Thor.
Right.
But that's what we needed more of.
I hope we get some Jane Foster in the movie we've already seen but have not yet seen. It's to set up her worthiness. Like, I'm hoping retroactively. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think they're going to do the cancer?
I think that it's so important to the comic that it would be really hard to not. I'm wondering if it's going to be caused by the ether.
I think that's probably where they're going to go with
I think so.
Whatever happened.
I would assume whatever happened to her changed her molecular structure.
Yeah, because we haven't really heard from her at all.
We haven't heard
at
from
all
her.
Because he even makes reference to that, I think, in Ragnarok when he's with
Where's
Loki.
Jane?
And
We're not really
Didn't
talking
work
right
out,
now.
right.
Yeah. So that's.
And then her scene in Endgame is a cut scene from
old
this
footage.
movie.
It's old
It's
footage
from
from
Dark
this.
World. Yeah, so we haven't had Natalie Portman back because
Right.
the only new footage is from this.
Well, I think that the reason that they were definitely able to get her back was once they came up with that angle.
Yeah, well, the comics are
of
so
Lady
good.
Thor and all that stuff too, and being able to bring it. When did that first be introduced?
2008? It was a long time ago at this point.
It was, and I think that was part of the reason why she was signed on to do
'Cause she thought it was
in the
potential.
first place, to the potential for it. But it was clear that they weren't planning on doing this in the first 3 phases, and so you mix that with like the Patty Jenkins thing. She's probably like, well, then screw you guys.
She hasn't. I even said this last week. She doesn't have the biggest track record. I mean, I'm not talking about box office, but with big budget movies, right? Because when you look, she even says that she's on record saying that it was hard for her after Star Wars because people didn't want to book her because they thought she was a bad actress. That's what she said. And that was very hard for her to do in general, right? So I think that, and the first Thor was tough to.
Sorry, 2015. I was way off.
I thought it was 2015.
What was
That's
it?
what I thought
What
so.
was
Because
2015?
First
Lady
Mighty
Thor.
Thor official.
That's what I thought.
She
Because I
popped
remember
up
talking
like,
about that on Schmoes when it came out. But either way, but my point with her is that she hasn't had an opportunity yet to really shine in these. What's a big blockbuster movie that she's done? When I think of Natalie Portman,
V for Vendetta.
again, a studio release, but not a massive movie, big blockbuster movie. That's but
But
she's
technically,
good.
I got to say, technically the first appearance was 1962.
Okay.
In a What If. That was what I was
You're gonna
saying.
stick around in this subject for a while.
I'm going to stay on. I'm going to be on my phone. You guys carry on. I'll check in. You just let me know we're back. Okay.
In that regard.
Let me,
but I will say that with Natalie Portman, what do you think of when you think of Natalie Portman, her career roles? You think of The Professional. You
Yep.
think of
Black Swan, dude.
Swan,
What she won for.
the Oscar.
I do
right?
think of V, but I don't think of that as a big film.
I think of her on SNL doing Natalie
right.
Portman. Yeah.
Right.
I do think of Natalie Portman as Natalie Portman, which is weird. Like more
she
than
was-
a lot of movie
You know,
stars.
she was in a movie. It was called Vox
Machina? No, Vox Lux.
Lerna?
Vox Lux.
Vox Lux.
Vox Lux.
I'm one of the few people who I love that movie.
I still haven't seen it.
It's hard to watch. It's a hard watch, especially the opening scene. It's a hard watch, but I really enjoy that movie. But she's great in that movie, and I don't think she's been able to do her Natalie Portman thing in big blood.
Well, we talked about the cancer element at Comic-Con, and she was really excited that was such a fundamental part of my experience of the character, and she really appreciated the fact that like that is how I see handling something so heavy in the superhero space is you're not demeaning either side of it. Like to me, the cancer thing isn't demeaning what makes her mighty, but it's also something that's so human for people that need to experience. Like just like any form of representation, I think that people that are not like healthy need to be seen. I think people that are going through trauma need to be seen. And like she really was drawn to that.
I mean, and the two things about it that are so incredible is both like you said with that representation, it's showing that people that are sick are still out here doing incredible things,
right?
Doing mighty things, pun intended. But then the other part about it, I know how that story kind of ends with her in one of the runs. The cancer's like too much. They're like, if you keep using the powers, you're gonna die.
Such a good run.
And so that could also be not only a way to really show Jane at that ultimate hero level, it could also give you an out potentially if Natalie was like, I'm definitely down to do this, but I want one and then I'm done.
Yeah.
You can make it where maybe that's a situation
That'll
where
be
she
brutal.
sacrifices herself. Yeah.
And I also think it's interesting, like we're seeing it tonight / 2 weeks ago, and we don't know all that much, right? Like I was saying the other day, like I love that the Thor trailers don't give us a lot of any story.
Nope.
Like the movie's coming out in 2 weeks. Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Alan? But like we really don't have a lot of like context for these things.
I'm realizing that Jane is the new friend from work.
Oh,
part
100%.
of it.
Jane.
Yeah. Yes!
Dude, the friend from work line, that being a Make-A-Wish kid is like one of the
That's
most
so
beautiful
cool.
things.
It's all full circle. If Jane does have cancer, it's a dude.
That's real.
That's wild.
But like this movie itself, back to the one that we're not talking about, I think Dark World suffered from a very, very generic villain that was cast.
Yes.
Like the actor's
He's
great.
a good actor, yeah. Chris Eccleston.
Yeah.
But I looked him up and I was like, I have not. Maybe he's a theater actor or something
No,
because he
he's
doesn't
been
have.
Doctor Who was this big. Like he's one of the big doctors.
Okay. Because the rest of it, there wasn't anything really like, and maybe that's what I missed. I probably saw the Doctor Who, but I just didn't see the episode count.
Yeah, he's like the original rebooted Doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see where he was.
And he pops up and stuff. I feel like this was not.
No. I feel you because it felt almost like a throwaway in that regard. If you're not a big Doctor Who person.
Also, Malekith is a way bigger deal in the comic books. Malekith leads to the War of the Realms, which is one. I don't know if you read War of the Realms. It's one of my favorite modern Thor storylines, and like the Dark Elf story is so akin to Loki's search for justice and vengeance. They could have done a lot more.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I think there is a lot that they're trying to. They use this so as like a bridge the gap movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And you feel kind of like Iron Man 2.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was gonna say he was in The Leftovers, which I love that show. Okay. He was Thor: Dark World, but before that, he was just in a lot of TV stuff.
I mean, obviously G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra made him a star.
But I mean, Heroes. He was. That was probably his biggest role. Claude in Heroes.
I don't remember that character.
Doctor Who. 28 Days.
He only
later.
did 1 year Doctor Who. Holy crap! He's so foundational to that fandom. I don't know Doctor Who that well. I won't claim to
at all.
But that's So he wasn't. It was definitely, and plus the fact he's in makeup and doing all this stuff. But I thought that character was going to be a lot. There was no depth to him.
At all.
I'm a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want? Villainy.
I want darkness.
Well,
I want darkness
that's what
everywhere.
But that's what they because they lean so heavily into really defining Loki more inside of this and that relationship, and as you guys mentioned, where he's the one who's kind of broken up about Rene Russo, it took away from this character. Yeah. Because there's none of that, well, what makes this character tick? Mm-hmm. He's just a dark elf was pissed off. Fight!
That's enough. Really Loki.
Because at least even with Laufey in the first one, there is that history of Odin coming in and wrecking his shop, and he's just like, bro, I am going to murder the Asgardians because you keep messing with the Frost Giants. That's a rat. Like,
context. We needed sense. Context.
The only context here was there was an ancient war with the Dark Elves.
And it's over voiceover. It's literally told via like cutscene.
And we get Boar for half a second. You know what I'm saying? And all that. And it's just not enough because if you were going to do that, it almost feels like what you were doing with Lord of the Rings with Sauron. Yeah. Where like you're at least you're setting up, this is the lore of who Sauron was. Right. And now we're going to explore this for 3 movies.
And that scope felt worthy, obviously, Lord of the Rings. But that's how you tell that in flashback. This did not accomplish that. And it's the same tone. This is the most Lord of the Ringsy of any of the MCU films. It's the most like fantasy paced. And there's a scene in this where Thor hangs his hammer on a coat rack. And that apparently is like one of the moments the Marvel was like, oh, Chris Hemsworth's funny. Right. So like this movie is important. But if you look at a rewatch, this is not one you need to rewatch necessarily. Zach Levi's great as Fendrel.
Well, that's what I say. We haven't talked. In our last rewatch, we didn't talk about
the Warriors 3,
his buddies, and the idea because who was the Jamie Alexander?
God, I love Sif so much.
She was rumored for Wonder Woman forever.
Yeah, and I wonder if that would have happened if Patty Jenkins did do this, and then that, like, you know what I mean?
Maybe. And I didn't realize that because Josh Dallas was originally Fandral, and they even. I'm reading this article on. I don't know.
And then Shazam took over.
That's right. Well, Zach Levi takes over, and you didn't even really notice, when they didn't make like a massive deal of it when he shows up in this one, and he just like, oh yeah, he's always been in it, and he hasn't.
Well, I love that the first Thor, the guy Josh Dallas, he looks like the same hairstyle choices of bleaching Thor's eyebrows, and then Zach Levi actually looks like that could be a person. Like I love that the first one was so over the top that everyone's makeup and everyone like side by side. Zach Levi's in front, dude.
I actually think
that's Shazam right there.
Yeah, I think they both look alright.
With the mop hair, it's hard for me to tell.
Yeah, so I'll give you here's a photo. Oh, there you go.
There's the pair of them.
Like I keep looking at both of them and trying to see which one is exactly.
No,
I guess I can.
I think dude on the right looks all right. Again, it goes. I think that it's a difference with the Brana stuff, right? The Josh, whatever his name is he's clearly
he's in a Brana film.
He's in a Shakespeare movie.
Yeah,
like, he's got the. Oh, I guess they both kind of have the collar. His just seems more like ruffian.
It's so Shakespearean, and even the way the hair is coiffed and all.
Yeah, and Levi looks like he's in Chronicles of Narnia.
Well, exactly. He actually looks like he's in the middle of a war.
And you know what's a bummer? Sorry, one more time in that image. What's a bummer is Thor: Dark World did some of the best production design choices. Like, look at the costuming. Look at the the Asgardian style. Yeah. That was all beautiful. It's just the movie was paced I don't know if you could trim 20 minutes. I don't know what I would do, but something about this movie just makes it not as rewatchable.
It's so funny. Like I am very aware of how in the minority I am, but if it does not, like, I would rank this. We should definitely probably do this at some point, ranking
the whole thing,
the MCU, like ranking all. It should just be a full episode.
It will take a full episode, dude. Well, Feige's apparently announcing what Phase 4 is going to be in the next month. So
it's either going to be
how they're wrapping up 4.
So probably Comic-Con.
Like what the big thing is.
So
I would say D23 because that's more his territory.
But that doesn't happen. When is D23?
Like 2 weeks after Comic-Con.
Is it really? I thought it was like September.
No, it's like August, I think.
I feel like it's less that that's his thing. It's more Disney was like, nah, save that.
Right.
Like, you know
we want this at our house.
It's September, dude.
It might be. I could be totally wrong. But we should do it then when they announce how Phase 4 is going to go.
D23 dates Anaheim, right?
Yeah, it's 2022.
September 10th, right?
Oh, yeah, I think you're totally right, dude. Is it September
7th, September 10th?
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down because that's going to be book out.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think, then we look at what Phase 4 has become.
D20. So this says D23 Expo. Who the hell knows? But it looks like it's September.
Okay.
So that's why if you're saying the next month with Kevin Feige,
yeah, that could be Comic-Con.
Then it should be Comic-Con because that's next month.
Yeah. Oh shit.
So what do you do for D23 then? Do you
probably just show a lot of footage of stuff that's coming out? I mean, that's like they're going to show. Well, for Star Wars, they'll probably show more Mandalorian stuff and maybe some stuff with Acolyte.
Well,
Ahsoka.
As of this morning that we were shooting this, something came out that they started already talking about Secret Wars and what's going on with that, and how Nick will lead Sword to deal with what stuff that's going on. So maybe it's diving into that.
Yeah.
But focusing back on this film, at this point we've seen 2 Infinity Stones, and we get introduced to the third now in the Ether, aka the Reality Stone. The only thing that's weird, knowing that the reality it sort of shows some reality warping, but not
it's pretty tame.
Really. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's more just like, oh, you're attacking Natalie Portman. Explosion.
Yeah.
Like,
it's all very impact-based, weirdly.
That's not what it does.
No.
It's literally like he turned a laser into bubbles when Thanos had it. Like, that's
it's reality.
Changed the entire room into
I'm wondering if they were just short-sighted with their imagination of what it will become. Like, I wonder if they were obviously
the evolution probably changed inside the room with like the Russo brothers,
right?
Too. They're like, yeah, they know that we did that in a dark world, but like what he should be able to do is like we just said. Like, he should be able to turn things into like bubbles. He should be able to do this. Like, maybe you go even a step further. That
was my problem with Scarlet Witch in Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. Was like she can literally change reality and she uses her fingers to zap. Like she's like basically like made a gun out of her hands. I'm like, you can change reality,
bro. On top of the fact that like they have that giant magic dome that she can't get past, and she can't all of a sudden just like turn the dome where it just starts sucking oxygen, like anything.
So many things.
More creative.
Yeah.
So I get it, because sometimes, like, let's be honest, I don't know how much writing y'all have done as well on scripts, and that you can't always think of all that stuff.
Right.
We're sitting there and we didn't think about the bigger scope of
Yeah, you're focused up on just getting the story told.
Right.
Which I think is what happened with Dark World, is they were like, okay, reality, boom. Like, they just needed a weapon more than they needed to world build. And I think that also is the strength and weakness of doing the MCU as big as they do.
The only thing that I really regret, I do wish that we had gotten more Frigga in 1.
Yeah, so we felt more.
I think her death would have had a bigger impact on us.
Yeah, I think you have more of it has more of an impact on you because it's Rene Russo than because of the way that they built the actual character.
If it wasn't Rene Russo, I don't know if I would have cared.
They tried, because remember, she goes to visit Loki in his cell.
She's a great scene.
And
yeah,
all
she
that.
does.
But I think we did not get enough of her previously, since this is a follow-up.
Yeah.
That I'm like, but I don't really care.
But what do you think about the ending? What do you think about the ending though of the movie with Loki with the
on the throne?
Yeah.
I think they undermined it immediately. Like they kind of kept throwing away what Loki ended with. Like, they did play around with it at Ragnarok, but it never felt impactful. It never felt like he actually did anything to the kingdom.
He put on plays about how Loki was a brave hero that died. Like, I don't like,
which is funny. Yeah. But like that's kind of the Ragnarok thing I have, is like we set up this big moment where Loki could have actually achieved something, where Loki was actually in charge, and then Ragnarok's like, what if Matt Damon? Like that's the extent of it. Matt Damon.
Right. Well, that's why that. As I said, that's what worries about me. Again, seeing it tonight, taping it, but it worries me about the new movie is just how much they're going to rely more so on. Well, let's make this funny. And this, what if this was in there? That could be hilarious, as opposed to how it could actually work in the overall.
Especially if this is the last. I mean, I do feel like we're gonna see something that affects the MCU. I do feel like it's gonna tie to Eternals. I do feel like it's gonna tie to obviously Guardians 3. But how much is that tone gonna balance?
Speaking of real quick, so speaking of the tie-in to all, are you caught up on Ms. Marvel?
I haven't seen this week's.
Okay, so
I was traveling.
I haven't seen this week's.
All right, because I had a question about Eternals.
I'll tell you Tuesday.
Yeah, tell me on Tuesday.
Well, you asked me on Tuesday. Hold on.
I mean, I guess I have to wait because this day is insane. But yeah, I over under. Do you think Loki makes an appearance? Because we do know that he lives because of the TVA. What do you guys think?
Well, that would confuse. It would confuse the hell out of Thor.
It would. That's fun.
I don't think so because I think it would take too long of a scene for him to
explain the TVA. I'm gonna go unlikely.
Yeah,
it'd be fun but unlikely.
Yeah.
Maybe a post-credit scene though.
Are they doing a Loki season 2? They are,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, they're filming it now. Okay. The guys that did Justin and Aaron who did Moon Knight are doing it.
Okay. Oh, cool. And then over under on Gamora.
Over. I see that happening as a reason maybe they leave. Like I think that something's going on where they have to solve that.
I think it's post-credit.
Yeah, they could both be post-credit. What do you guys think post-credit's going to be on this?
Maybe some Guardians-wise because that's going to lead into part 2.
Where it goes.
When does part 2 come out? Next year?
Next year. Part 3. Yeah. But holiday special comes out this year.
What the hell is that?
They're doing like a Star Wars Christmas special with Guardians.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it's a full-on in-canon thing.
Right.
So, yeah, that's also this year. So this year's crazy.
And that's direct to Disney+. Yeah.
Right. It's just, but this is interesting because is this supposed to be the last Thor? Is this supposed to be it?
It's the last thing they've confirmed.
The last thing they confirmed. So knowing that, you have the ability, I'm sure Chris probably is like, maybe no more solo films, but I'll come back in and Avengers stuff for you when you need me.
Yeah.
So you're also looking here at like the kind of this whole end of the era type situation. I know we've kind
old guard.
Yeah. The old guard going out, bro, because
all gods must die.
Well, exactly, which you're getting that, which is I guess the part that's so interesting about Dark World. I don't think I ever felt threatened by Malekith.
Right.
Maybe to the world, but never to Thor.
There is a bit of a oh, stop at you.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the reality stone.
Yeah.
You have a friggin' infinity stone
and it never feels challenged.
He's never scary. He's never you're just like, oh, cut it out, you
silly little elf.
Oh, stop getting so mad, will you?
And they did all the right things. They made him look scary. They made his voice deep, but it didn't land.
It didn't land.
The convergence also didn't feel like it was that big of a deal. Like you were like, I was like, okay, cool. Like things are kind of flying in and out of portals.
That seems worrisome.
Are lining up, but
and here's another, like, if I say to my daughter's never seen an MCU film yet, we're going to watch the whole thing.
That's
right?
fun.
But
that's how you should rank them.
After what she's seen, but if I say to my daughter, do you know who Loki is? Yeah, she knows who Loki is. She knows who Thanos is, right? She knows a lot of these main villains. If I say to her, who's Malekith? Huh?
You ask some MCU fans. They won't remember. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a...
The casual fans will be like, who?
Like, if this isn't the worst Marvel movie, I do think it's the worst Marvel villain.
It's not a good one.
I mean, Corey Stoll's not great, but he's at least...
But you know what? I don't mind Corey Stoll. Everyone gives Corey Stoll such a bad
I loved Corey
I thought he was great, but I felt he had more to do. I at least knew what his motivation was. I mean, he was still pretty by the numbers.
Yeah. I was just thinking of the mustache twirling villains, and those two jump out.
As far as a bad villain goes, I mean,
Ghost.
Oh wait, Memento dude, homeboy, Adrian, fucking.
There you go.
There's my one. The dude that breathes fire for no reason in Iron Man 3.
Oh,
Aldrich.
Killian Aldrich.
There it is. Yeah, he's probably my worst villain.
I understand his reasoning.
I understand him a little bit.
You know what I'm saying? Which is why I also understand Corey Stoll. There's nothing here that I'm like, yeah, let's do
Dark, huh?
Ghost, I at least... no, darkness, right? Ghost, I at least understand her reasoning, but...
I like Ghost a lot.
Wait, which Ghost?
Ghost is
Ant-Man 2.
Right.
So...
That movie is another one that ranks kind of low for me.
Yeah, but she just stops.
Yeah.
It's just like,
hey, and I loved the man.
Cut it out. And then she's like, okay. Like, and that's it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I like what they were setting up. They just didn't follow through. I didn't like what they set up or what they followed through with Malekith.
I think Ghost is going to be in the Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts, whatever they do first. And then I think Malekith is going to stay in obscurity. Like, I think you could redeem Ghost and like some of the
he died at the end of this, didn't he? I don't remember.
I don't remember. How did this end?
Bro, here's the thing. This is how you know This film was really low for me. I screwed up because my girlfriend Kristen had never seen the MCU. She had seen films here and there, but she had never just like seen it. So she decided we're gonna do a rewatch of it. We're moving along. I had trash talked The Dark World so much. We froze on this rewatch for almost 2 years. She was like, I don't want to watch it. Thor's my least favorite character. And his story sucks, and I don't want to watch this movie.
You only got to phase 2?
So we eventually watched it because what I did was we bought a new bookshelf. So we were building a bookshelf while watching Thor: The Dark World. She didn't have to focus.
Yep.
She's like, yeah, something about that's an Infinity Stone, and Thor's mama died, and this guy sucks. I got it.
It's so funny. My wife loves the Thor movies. Right,
really?
That's interesting.
Loves them. Like, doesn't even mind the Dark World, right? Because it was the one she hasn't been to movies in like 3 years, because of everything going on in the world. And I was telling her about, going to the Thor, which she's like, I want to go to that. And she thought about it, but then she missed it. She really wanted to see it. But like, it's funny because how does Kristen like Guardians?
She really liked Guardians 1. We haven't watched Guardians 2 yet.
I couldn't get my wife to watch 6 minutes of Guardians.
Wow.
She was like, she saw the talking raccoon, she was out.
That's it. So that's the beauty of the MCU, right? Like everyone's got their niche. It is truly a genre for everyone.
Guardians 1 stopped our MCU watch in its tracks, and I was like, let's just power through it because I said I liked the first one. She started watching. She's like, no, I'm out.
Wow.
I'll tell you this: she didn't like it until the Jackson Pollock line. Because she thought that was really clever. And then from that point
I think you're talking about my wife. I'm like, what the hell? How do you know that?
Winston's always outside. He's just keeping an eye on things.
Hey, man, I just always watching, baby.
It's a Homelander.
Remember 3 weeks ago when... Oh yeah, how'd your wife react to that? By the way,
Homelander?
No, the Winston, the video of Winston saying.
Oh, I didn't show. I didn't show.
Oh, she wasn't see it?
No, because she was so when I told her that I even brought it up, she was so embarrassed.
That's how Winston heard though. That's how he knew about the Jackson Pollock line. He was there. He was waiting.
But for Kristen, she was the beginning of Guardians. She was kind of like, oh boy, and then he said the Jackson Pollock thing. And she was like, "Oh, that's actually pretty clever."
Yeah,
and then she jacked in from there.
Oh, did she? Did she jack in from there? Did she?
She was on board.
She was really hard for the movie from that point on. Mode. She was all about. Sometimes you need a little foreplay before Guardians.
Hey,
you gotta get more of them up. You gotta make sure.
That'll get you going. But look, what will get you going for sure is a little Athletic Greens, everybody. Athletic Greens. Who wants some Athletic Greens? Well, you should get some Athletic Greens. Why? Because it is good stuff, man. I love Athletic Greens. Winston likes Athletic Greens. Coy likes Athletic Greens, and you should too. So you got to really, really check this stuff out. I love it. I've been using it for a while now, and I'm digging it. I'm digging it because I didn't have the time to really get into these vitamins and pills and all those types of things. I just couldn't do it. I wanted better gut health. I wanted more energy, optimized immune system. I didn't like taking the pills and the vitamins. I wanted a supplement that tastes great, and I wanted to see what the hype was. And so I did it. I love it. I dig it a lot. I've been using it. I've been talking about it forever. You guys have been watching this show long enough. You know about Athletic Greens. You take 1 scoop of it, you put it in a water bottle, you shake it up, put it in a glass of water. You get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods, source superfoods, probiotics, the whole 9 yards. I love it, man. It tastes like it's fruity, which I dig. It looks like grass, but it's not. It's got like a fruity taste to it. I give it to all my friends, my family. It's awesome. It supports better sleep quality, recovery. It supports mental clarity and alertness. It costs you less than $3 a day. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself, and you're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. It's got over 7,000 5-star reviews, and it's recommended by professional athletes. So it is time to reclaim your health, arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. You take 1 scoop and a cup of water every day. That's all you need to do. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. So Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. You got to visit athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And as I told you guys once, and I'll tell you again, you want to help out the show? You want to help out yourself? Get yourself some Athletic Greens. Get it in the link of the description below. It helps out the show tremendously, especially when it's something that we love and we can tell you about. So go ahead and check it out. All right, back to it. Let's get it.
So, villain problems, good character growth, just a little, stagnant at times as far as pacing. Directing's fine. It's just kind of like neutral at points. The fights are fine.
Feels a little TV-ish sometimes.
Feels a little TV-ish.
That's probably coming off the Game of Thrones stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Oh, okay.
Early on, when we were on Vanaheim, is that Korg's brother?
I think it's the race that Korg is
what I was
from,
saying, yeah.
but I don't know if they'll do. I think it'd be a funny Taika bit if they tie it together.
If randomly one day,
but it's the same race.
That's what I was asking because he's holding the same weapon.
Yeah.
Too. So I don't actually think he's Korg's actual brother, but some sort of
he's in that species. Yeah, which is fun because I've often wondered if they were like just had the mapping and they were like, we've got this Taika guy. He wants to voice this thing he's directing. Pluck that. Like it feels like they just used Rock guy. But it's funny. It's great.
Yeah. Are there other things in here that really stood out besides
Loki's a highlight for me again?
Yeah, Loki seems to be, and that's where they probably even more so wanted to develop him more.
Yeah,
they have his buddies, the Jamie Alexander, Ray Stevenson, both they're in this again too, but not as big a roles. I think, as they have.
Lady Sif is a highlight for sure as well. She's so cool.
And they have those moments. I think that it's interesting when Jane goes to Asgard and
there's that little bit of love triangle action.
There is. You think it's going to be, but it never really goes.
It's kind of a first act, but I felt it was like if he stayed on Asgard, she's
stuck with her.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing to be like. That's another way they show him choosing Midgard. They show him choosing Earth.
What happened? Did she eat it in the third one?
She was rumored to have been dusted, but then she was in Loki.
She was in Loki.
Yeah, she was in that scene with
right. She said, but that's not
not really time.
But that's also not in the dusting universe.
I think she's going to be in Love and Thunder though.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think she shows because remember the Warriors 3, Sif and the Warriors 3 get their ass whooped by Hela.
Right.
That's what I mean.
That's the question he's asking him, are they alive?
Well, I know Zach Levi is toast. He gets dusted.
He's gone.
He gets killed by her.
He's out Shazamming.
Yeah, right.
But I think I imagine that would be a conflict. But I do think I think she survived. I don't know why I think that though.
But that's I guess my question because then why didn't she show up in Infinity War? Why didn't remember all the Asgardians saved together? Died. They were murked by Thanos on the ship.
On the ship. But yeah, only a few survived, and then the ship gets taken out. So his entire thing, that's why Thor's got the darkest.
Sif was among the many victims of Thanos' snap. However, she was resurrected 5 years later by Hulk.
So she is alive.
That's what they say.
Why didn't we see her? That's the weird part. And also, that actually makes me think about.
Well, where would you see her?
Huh?
On the ship?
Where would you see her?
Either in New Asgard.
Yeah, but
in Ragnarok.
In what? But that's
no, that would be Endgame. So either in New Asgard or in the final battle. Like, why didn't we see Sif and the Warriors 3 or any of them that survived?
In what movie?
In the final battle in Endgame.
Oh, in Endgame.
Yeah.
Oh, when they came back
because they established new Asgard in Scotland.
Yeah. So here's your answer. Sif set out Ragnarok and didn't help Thor in Avengers Infinity War or Avengers Endgame either. It was later said that she was among the casualties of Thanos' snap, which means that she was dead for 5 years and then came back, and it doesn't really say anything as far as why did she come back. I'm gonna see why didn't Lady Sif's lazy ass help in Endgame?
Okay, so definitely a highlight moment at the kind of.
The real world reason was scheduling.
Oh yeah, Blind Spot, that show she did.
According to Alexander, Marvel waited until the last minute to ask her to appear in Ragnarok, at which point Marvel's shooting schedule conflicted with Blind Spot.
Got it.
Let's see.
What was I going to say? The moment that I really loved at the kind of beginning of Act 2 when Loki and Thor are going off and all of his friends start threatening him on the way out. Like, and I swear to God, if you betray him, I will kill you. Yeah. Like every single one of them having one of those moments was like a fun little.
And that plays back into that Loki
starting the comedy
too. Yeah. And but I think that there was I don't know. There was a lot in there that I thought worked, and I don't know. I think that the biggest thing that I can agree with is the villain doesn't pop.
Does not.
But the other stuff to me worked pretty good, but it's not one that I'm going back and watching every time just because. Oh, you want to watch a great Marvel movie, Thor: Dark World, but I don't put it as my stinkiest, and a lot of people do.
I mean, I think in some ways I think it's better than Captain Marvel, which is made $1 billion because at least it lives with a certain expectation of power sets and it doesn't there's parts of Captain Marvel that look cheap and it's so expensive, whereas this sometimes it looks TV but it feels at least grounded.
I think I like this better than Captain Marvel. I like this better than Guardians 2. Trying to think some of the
Winston
other
disagrees. I like Guardians 2 better than this. Personally. I like Guardian 2 more than this. It's gonna be interesting to that list because I think this might be like Toy Story. Toy Story. We were all like, We all agree. All 4 great, and we this order is going to be.
I can already tell because of how high Black Panther ranks on my list. Our lists are going to be drastically. different.
Black Panther's pretty high for me too.
I'm not saying it's not, but like it's still depending on the day
could be number one
for me, and a lot of that has to do with the impact.
100%, and I understand that completely. I could as much as I appreciate how great of a movie that is, I'm clearly not going to watch that movie the same way that you do.
Yeah,
right.
And my Spider-Man experience is probably going to be different than your guys because I learned to read with that character.
But even so, though, it's yes, we learn how to read through. Yes, but I mean, I saw the movie. I took RB3 with me to the premiere when I went, and we just watched the movies. We appreciated obviously in the filmmaking aspect the same.
Sure.
But the way he was watching it, his eyes.
I can't imagine.
I was dying,
you can't
laughing.
Right. So that's a very different kind of impact for you. So I understand why that would be up there for you for sure. And it's also a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
But I think that for me, and if I was going to rank him right now, I still think Endgame is up there for me as my favorite. I think Endgame's my favorite
over Infinity War because a lot of people actually will put Infinity War over Endgame.
It's got time travel in it, man.
He loves the time travel.
And it's done. But what I liked about that movie with the time travel aspect, and by the way, I didn't realize, now it makes more sense, that the Russo brothers also produced Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, Agbo.
I did, yes.
And so you look at the way that they approach time, they probably read the same articles that I do. Right? Because that's the same, when they had that whole conversation, Back to the Future is one of the best movies of all time. I preface it by saying that the time travel and the mechanics of that are garbage.
Well, they're from the 80s when we didn't have the same studies.
A lot of people still do it the same way. We're the way most scientists say, if you go back in time and if Winston goes back in time and stops himself from ever coming to the studio, then maybe he's not sitting here right now. Right. But that's that timeline.
Right.
This timeline,
splits.
This timeline's happened. It's like you don't disappear.
Right.
It's just that timeline, it doesn't happen. And that's what the Russo brothers kind of explored, and that's why Endgame, for me, the way that they did that inside of that was like, okay, I love what you're doing here. And they even had that Back to the Future.
If we ever have a gap again, we should do the Avengers movies.
Christian's lying. He loves Endgame because of America's ass.
Obviously, he's right there. He's so invested. He got double caps.
No one needs to lie. I said it was Endgame as part of it.
But if we ever have a gap again, the Avengers would be fun.
They call it America's ace.
America's ace.
Hey, listen, not for nothing, man, but I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you. Chris Evans showing up? Oh, my goodness, what an end credit that was. It wasn't even an end credit. It was an end, and now I got a credit for watching it. Thanks, Richard.
I don't have anything else to say about Dark World than that. I think that's kind of where we're at.
I'll give you a Dark World. My Dark World's when I can't look at America's ass, I'll be honest with you. Oh, my goodness. You got to tell him, taking my girlfriend with me to see it, and the next thing you know, I'm getting these feelings I didn't know I was supposed to have. It's like, what am I? Some kind of the next thing you know, they're gonna be covering me on some news program saying, "Listen, I was in the bathroom." I go, "Look, I gotta be honest with you. I gotta reveal my true tendencies."
That's why I love doing this.
Thor: Dark World.
That is the reason.
That's right.
These bits just keep coming out of nowhere, man.
Absolutely.
Like
Malekith, guy did nothing. Nothing for nobody. It's like drinking chocolate milk with another elf.
Yo, his ass was flattened at his table.
It's like unbelievable. What are you doing in Malekith? What kind of name is that? It's like a lisp. Malekith. Give me a break. Unbelievable. What are you doing something? And you got better people working for you over there. Let that guy be the villain. You go mow my lawn, will you?
Biggest twist of Love and Thunder, Malekith comes back.
Imagine if he did,
They make him relevant like they made Dark World work in Endgame.
Well, the other moment that I really loved just as an action set piece is Mjolnir being confused because of the portals.
Yeah.
Where it's like shooting off in one direction. It goes, oh Jesus, he's on Asgard. Oh Lord, he's on Vanaheim.
And that was a clever way to depower for a bit. Like there were some clever mechanics in this film.
Yeah. But that's all we got for you.
That's all we got.
That's all we got. It was
where we're at.
Thor: Dark World, and there's so much, man. We got as we just covered this. We covered Thor. We covered Dark World. Next Friday will be Ragnarok, and the following Monday will be a full spoiler discussion with the three of us. I will have the review of Thor: Love and Thunder up, the non-spoiler, and then the spoiler over the weekend, and then we'll go. But the same thing we've been doing on this show. So make sure that you already subscribe. If you haven't done that already, hit the subscribe button, notification, do everything that you have to do. Notifications on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, everywhere podcasts are found, and thanks a lot. Appreciate you, everything that you did. And go give me a slice. Some pepperonis. Put pineapples on it and I'll break your legs.